Hey everyone, Steven here. I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be about Phillip Schofield, the dark side of Phillip Schofield. Um, the past day or two, I've just been noticing, looking on, seeing the news, coming across news online. It all seems to be about Phillip Schofield and Holly Willoughby. Their relationship is essentially it's fallen apart, and this, I know he says it's been a long time coming, but there has been a lot of rumblings that they just are not on good terms. A lot of people have been picking this up just from their body language on the show on this morning, and there's just been a lot of just word getting out there that she's kind of just at this point had enough of him and wants nothing more to do with him. I think she's stopped following him on social media, and I believe, from the research I've done, that there is good reason for this. That Holly wants nothing to do with him. A lot of it will just be her, maybe I guess trying to protect herself, protect her reputation. But I think she's got to the point now where she's had enough of Phillip Schofield, and I think there's a lot of other people out there that have had enough of him as well. And there is definitely a dark side to this guy. Um, you know, to be in that position that he is in, on a daytime TV show, you gotta come off presentable. Obviously, you're a presenter. But you gotta come off likable. That doesn't mean you're actually a good person in real life, though. And I think, I've had this feeling with with Phillip Schofield for a while, is that he just kind of comes off like just a real kind of unpleasant type of character. Not a likable guy at all. And there's just something about the way, even when I've seen video clips of when he's interviewing people in This Morning, it can come off quite snappy when he comes off quite snappy when he has like questions for people, and and just can kind of come off like a bit of a dick. Um, and and a lot of the times, this is just in life. If you're putting on a front, putting on a facade, eventually you're going to get exposed. That's karma for you. And with Phillip Schofield, I'm going to get into the other stuff throughout this video. The stuff to do with his brother, the whole thing with the kid Matthew McGreevy, the other stuff that other people, celebrities, have said about him. I will touch on all that, but just go back to the start with Phillip Schofield. So his background. So he was born in Oldham, Lancashire, and I think from a very young age, he said he knew what he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to work in television. And at 17, it was after many years of writing letters to the BBC, he took up the position of bookings clerk and tea boy at BBC Radio in London. And that is how a lot of people get their start. I think it was the same story with Simon Cowell, that he got his start that way, like a tea boy, when you're very young, 16, 17 years of age. At 19, Schofield moved with his family to New Zealand, where he made his television debut as the initial presenter of the youth music programme Shazam, 23rd of February 1982. He also spent 2 years working for the Auckland-based radio station. Right, yeah, so whatever. But to get really into it, though, with Phillip Schofield, I mean, but one thing with Phillip Schofield, though, I mean, growing up in the 90s, I don't really remember him as a television presenter. He doesn't really stand out to me. I mean, there were certain people on the TV that stood out to me. I mean, I remember, like, Noel's House Party back in the day. I loved that show as a kid. Even not Generation Game. It was other show Jim Davison did, Big Break. Because I'm a big snooker fan. But Schofield never stood out to me. He never did. I mean, but I think obviously Schofield really got his big break in 2002 when he became a presenter on the ITV daytime show This Morning, replacing John Leslie. And John Leslie, that's another character that's got a lot of accusations against him, but he's never been proven guilty in court, though. Multiple accusations, but never been proven guilty. But this is where he got his big break, and then he was doing the show with Firm Britain. And then, he had problems with Firm Britain, and then eventually in 2009, it was Holly Willoughby replaced Britain. Holly Willoughby at that point was doing like just the Extra Factor, but she was getting up there, rising up her star value. And that's it. They've been the face of morning television this is almost 13, 14 years now. And they're always known as, hey, Holly and Phil, and they're always giggling and laughing and clowning around, and people just, I guess, gravitate to that. They feel, like, I guess, they're harmless, likable even. But just with Schofield, though, if you're really smart, like, you should be able to see through the bullshit, though. And Schofield, there's just all the stuff out there about Schofield. He's very envious, petty guy. Jealous of the success that of our TV presenters have. Even jealous of the success Holly Willoughby has had out with the show. And he's had problems with Amanda Holding, Ruth Langsford. She's the wife of Eamon Holmes. Had problems with Firm Britain, so may have played a part in driving Firm Britain out of the This Morning gig. But this guy has a lot of stroke, though. He's gone out of his way to ensure that he has a large part in the production of the show. At the end of the day, you're just a TV presenter, Phil. It's not your call to decide, we got to do this, that, on the show. You can throw in your 2 cents, no doubt, but at the end of the day, that's not your job. You're there to present. But I think Schofield has kind of been obviously at it for a while, and Schofield, has had input on who gets on the show and who doesn't. And I imagine that a lot of people, let's say a lot of people that are very much for freedom and they're outside of the matrix, they are probably going to be the people that Phillip Schofield does not like at all. And he's probably made it a point to get them to just put the kibosh to it and not allow them to appear on the show. But this is where it gets. This is the real interesting stuff here with the about Schofield and all this just seediness, and it's the whole thing with the kid Matthew McGreevy. Matthew McGreevy was a part of this drama company, I believe, Two-Face Productions, and that was this company is Schofield is a patron of. And when Matthew McGreevy was just 15, there's a tweet there online, and he just tweeted Schofield, "Hey Phil, how are you? Thanks for following me," something like that. And then 3 years later, though, Schofield had tweeted him back. He's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? How's acting going? Had your big break yet? McGreevy responds, and then Schofield's just like, "Oh, great. I'll see you in 2 weeks on This Morning." So that's a little strange. But then in 2014, the photograph here, Matthew McGreevy in the centre, with Phillip Schofield and Holly Willoughby there, and he was allowed on the set that day. But I mean, and this is the thing. You see the photograph. Oh, this is a big break for this guy, and what he's like the kid that got the ticket, the golden ticket. He's going to go on the set of This Morning. But it wasn't like that was just by luck that he won a competition and you had to phone up for someone and answer a question. It was just like he knew the right person, But this is the thing, though. These photos that they have and the things they do, it's people. These people very much, they snitch on themselves. Now, this is where it gets even more kind of strange. There's a Simon Schofield that isn't related to Phillip Schofield, which again is very strange in itself. That these two guys are just very good close friends and have the same surname, like Schofield. You know, it's not like it's not like their surname Smith, you know, a very common surname like that. But these guys are very close friends, and Simon Schofield is he's a high up executive in production and television. And then, if you see this picture, it's Simon Schofield when he was younger on a production. I believe it would have been it was Oliver, the Bristol Hippodrome, and there he is in a photo with Phil Schofield with his arm round him. And Simon Schofield jokes about this. He says, "Look 12 and drugged for some reason." Now that's a very weird thing to joke about. Say you look like you're drugged. That's strange. Of all the things you could have made a joke of that photo, you joke about saying I look like I'm drugged. Now that's pretty strange, man. You know. But then this is the thing with the kid Simon, who he's obviously known Phil for a very long time. But then this is the photo of Simon Schofield there and Matthew McGreevy. Bethany Dow's on her Instagram, the look of love. Now, and again, this is the thing. I mean, he looks very young there. This is 2013, so he would have been, I believe, at that point he was 17, but still very young, and just looking at him like he adores him. But the thing like this, again, this is a very kind of, I've seen pictures like this, not exactly like this, these photographs, when, you know, normally in a photograph, you both look at the picture and you smile. That's the normal way of doing things, but this kind of like planned out photo of, oh, I'm going to look and be just, you know, gazing at you. So another something obviously there that's kind of, you know, premeditated, but it's just, I don't know what to, I say I don't know what to think, but I mean, to me, from what I gather, is there's got to be grooming. Grooming has gone on here. You know, they have groomed this kid. I believe that Philip and Simon Schofield have groomed this kid, Matthew McGreevy. And later on, Matthew McGreevy gets a job as a runner on This Morning. Schofield, you see a photograph there. Schofield and McGreevy. McGreevy's looking a little bit older there. And I believe he was a runner on the show of This Morning for 3 years. But then something happened where he got moved and he ended up working, I think it was like Loose Women, maybe did something with Dancing on Ice as well. But it was early, I believe, 2020 that Schofield came out. He publicly came out on the show as gay. And a lot of people at this point, I mean, first off, I don't know how I felt about it. I mean, maybe there was a part of me that always thought he might be gay. I didn't know. Maybe I assumed he already was. I didn't really know about his personal life, if he had kids, if he was married, had a wife. I didn't know, but quite frankly, I don't really care either. I mean, but it's very strange for him to all of a sudden, about what, late 50s, early 60s almost, to come out as gay at this point in your life. But again, I'm not judging, but I'm kind of speculating when it comes to the timing of it. You know, it's not like Elton John, who I believe was with women early on, married, and then a few years in came out as gay. You know, it's not like that. This guy waited until he was like 58, 59 to come out. And there's been speculation, again, that what happened was that he was blackmailed into coming out. And that McGreevy was going to go to the press and expose Schofield for, I guess, could have been going back to when he was very young. You're talking, I think you him even going back to when he was 11. There's a photograph here. Everybody else has been blurred out. This is part of the drama group thing. And so the grooming could have been going on from a very young age. And I think he McGreevy was going to go to the press, but then in the end, you know, when you have that big thing of like an exclusive thing with the press like that, you're revealing something. A lot of the time they say it's always, you're doing that because you know, they've blackmailed you, they've forced you into doing something. I mean, I mean, it's not quite the same, but I remember, I think, I can't remember, was there a certain publication that you about when all the allegations with the cheating with Tiger Woods went on, and I think it might have been the same company that owned the Muscle and Fitness magazine, and they agreed with Tiger Woods that Tiger Woods would appear on the cover of Muscle Fitness if they didn't reveal all the cheating allegations. And that's how these things work. That's a little bit different case there with Tiger Woods, but this is how these things work, though, really. You know, it wasn't like a genuine, emotional, gotta do this coming out moment. It wasn't. It was like he was blackmailed into doing this shit. And the thing is with Schofield, I mean, I don't even know if it's a case of he's actually gay. Some people speculate that, oh, well, he always must have been probably gay, but maybe it's just this thing where he generally would be with a woman and have a woman and have children with a woman, but then he just does these things on the side. Does that mean you're necessarily gay? Or you could say you're bisexual? But then in the end, it's not about a gay, a bisexual, a straight thing. I don't care if Phillip Schofield's straight, gay, bi, or Australian. I don't care. At the end of the day, though, Schofield has been this guy with these, you know, big fucking white teeth and the silver hair, and he's been on our television screens, and, you know, this is the guy that, you know, is put up there, that, you know, you know what I mean? Everyone, no one would ever think, oh, you know, I'm talking the general public here, they would think, oh, Phillip Schofield? Oh, no way he would groom kids. No wonder. No way he's this nasty piece of work. But, you know, I would say, no, that's exactly what he is. I mean, there's a lot of stories out there with Schofield about kind of, and a lot of it is with women. It's threatening, intimidating behaviour. There's stuff there to do with Kim Woodburn, Nadine Dorries saying that, and Lady Colin Campbell. Now, these examples might not be the best, because they can kind of not always come off the best and can rub people the wrong way, these people. But, I mean, there was some here about Lady Colin Campbell said she claimed Schofield shoved her at a party. She said, I was in the walkway and Phillip Schofield bounced into me, shoved me, trying to knock me down. Obviously, so I would look ridiculous or think I was drunk or some such thing. So I guess it was kind of slick in the way he did it. She said, I said to him, excuse me, but I didn't know who it was until he walked past. Phillip hasn't publicly addressed the claims. So again, if this was total nonsense, absolute lie, he probably would have addressed it. Or someone in his team would have. But no, he didn't. Then you got Dan Wootton for GBUs. Dan Wootton, there was an article here. Holly Willoughby and Phillip Schofield's reign as ITV's golden couple appears to be nearing the end after a backstage fallout. I know why she's preparing to pull the plug on their partnership, and it's the right decision. Now, you know, Dan's just talking a lot about sources. He said that she's just had enough of it. She's had enough of him. Holly wants nothing more to do with them. But I mean, my guess is Dan really knows what the deal is and the score, and he knows about the whole McGreevy story. But Dan's obviously got to be careful in his position, because Dan has had the stuff. I mean, he had the stuff with Johnny Depp about when he called him a wife beater, and then Depp took him to court. But Depp lost, and that's a whole other video for another day on that, trust me. But, so he has to watch, but I think, I mean, and again, there's one channel I've got to give a lot of credit for this stuff, and turn me on to this, is the Divided Kingdom. And I believe the Divided Kingdom might have done a live stream on another channel, and he got demonetized because he's been trying to expose this stuff. But, you know, the walls are coming in on Phillip Schofield, I'll put it that way. And, you know, people are saying about, Alison Hammond could be replacing him soon. I think the Dan Wootton said it could be around September time, but trust me, it could happen a lot sooner. You could be talking around July time that he could be replaced. But, you know, and I mean, the thing is, obviously, and just touching on Holly Willoughby, I mean, Holly Willoughby's another one. Oh, you know, so sweet Holly, people pleaser, likes everybody, you know. But then Holly Willoughby as well, though, she was another one that, her and Philip, the whole queue jumping, with the Westminster Hall to see, the Queen lying in state, she was in that with Phil as well. It wasn't just him. You had David Beckham that was queuing there, queued there for 12 hours, just to see the Queen there. But these two, they're able to, with their media or whatever privileges, or well, I don't know, however they spun it as to why they did it, but they could just jump the queue. Oh, forget all you peasants! I'm not standing with you around all you, And of course, yeah, they look down on normal people. It should be no surprise. But then, of course, there's all the stuff to do with his brother, Timothy Schofield. And that's all come out. And again, this is this, I imagine, has a large part. This has really put a strain on his relationship with Holly Willoughby, Phil. But, I mean, Timothy Schofield found guilty of sexually abusing boy. So this is not, we're not talking about, Philip allegedly here. This is, Philip's brother, Tim, has been found guilty of sexually abusing a boy. There was 11 sexual offences involving a child between October 2016 and October 2019. And he worked for the police. He was an IT technician for the Avon and Somerset Police. 11 sexual offences. And he tried to deny it and said the kid was 16 at the time, the age of consent. But I believe it did come out that he had been grooming this guy going back to when he was 13 years of age. And you just wonder, well, if this is stuff that's been going on, and some of it was straight up just abuse. Other allegations were that he was there watching porn, masturbating, watching porn. But then a lot of this, it could be a case of, is it a case of, like brother? I mean, and this is another thing. I believe Schofield tried to say that he had no idea about the allegations, but apparently it came out in the court. Though, that Schofield did know about it, and Schofield didn't go to the police. And some might say, well, that's a tough one because it's family. Could you make that argument? I suppose you could, but I mean, I believe Schofield had said something on his Snapchat. He really likes using his Snapchat. And I believe he likes to follow young guys who are over the legal age, but they are very young. They're talking early 20s. But Schofield, though, said he didn't know about the allegations. And now he's trying to say, I no longer have a brother, And again, he could just be saying these things, and, for all we know, he's there and he'll once every now and in a while we'll end up meeting him in prison, visiting him in prison. I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, you could say that's a tough one, being it as his brother, but in the end, though, he was aware of it, though. He claimed that he wasn't aware of it, but he knew about it. But, so you've got a guy, his brother has been accused of, I'm not saying, no, he's been found guilty of these things. Philip Schofield allegedly had been grooming this young kid, Matthew McGreevy. And there's some connection there with his buddy Simon Schofield. So just very strange. But, I mean, as I said, and there's even a story here with Catherine Ryan, the comedian, that she had said that there was somebody there that she confronted and said, hey, you're a predator. And she's not revealing the name, though. I think she's basically, hey, I'm not going to risk, she said that she's not going to basically risk, putting her mortgage on the line by, by naming this person. Is that understandable, her saying that? Yeah, I suppose that is understandable in a way. But then again, that's probably how, that's how Jimmy Savile got away with it for all those years, that people had that exact same mindset. So I'm not entirely sure I agree with, and I could fully agree with that having that mentality. But again, and by the way, with this Catherine Ryan thing, there's some people speculating it might not be Schofield. I don't know about that one. It's possible. Could be Russell Brand. Could be David Williams. Some other names that have been thrown out there. But yeah, overall, with Schofield, I don't think from being there on the TV screen for all the years he's been on, And as I said, I didn't really know about him when I was a kid. He's never come off like a really likable guy to me. Always kind of come off like a bit of a dick. I mean, I believe it's true that it went on, that there was some kind of grooming there, and there was some kind of thing where I don't know if he knew the kid through Simon first, talking to Matthew kid, or or basically Philip passed him on to Simon. But it does just seem very just a lot of seediness there, and just wait for this. I think the truth is all going to be revealed very soon, and all of this, and it's going to be all out there in the mainstream media. So just wait.